And Morag Barrett is somebody who started SkyeTeam. She started a number of different organizations, but at the end of the day, she is the most wanted woman in terms of creating leadership and cultures within organizations. She is the author of Cultivate, the Power of Winning Relationships and the Future Proof of the Workplace. As a CEO of SkyeTeam, an international executive development company, she has supported the development of more than 4,000 leaders in 20 countries on 4 continents. Now, I have to read this because I want to make sure I get this right for my dear friend, because if I don't, I'm going to hear about it for the next couple of weeks here. Originally from the UK, her 30-year career includes 15 years in commercial finance as well as leadership development in Europe, America, and Asia. She's been featured by Entrepreneur.com and Inc.com and CIO.com, among others. Morag understands the challenges of running a business as well as the complexities of leading and managing the people that are part of that business. But if I could just add something personally, you can have people come up here and talk to you about what they know. You really can. It's not that hard. But you can't get people to come up here to tell you what they know and how they know it with deep passion and deep conviction and deep confidence. That's what Morag brings to the table today. You are in for a special, special treat. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend, beautiful woman from the UK. She sounds like she's from South Carolina, though. Wait till you hear her speak. It's unbelievable. Morag Barrett. If you sound like you're from South Carolina, I'm in trouble.
Is this where I have to say, all y'alls?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All y'alls, welcome. Oh my God, I'm exhausted just listening to that introduction, but I am so excited. The adrenaline's pumping, because as Tony said, to be in person and to have you all streaming in live as well, oh my God, what an honor. But I was talking to one of my colleagues earlier on today, and I said, I think I've kind of lost the knack of small talk. If only I was wearing my PJs from here and the little jacket from up here, then it would feel like work. You know what I mean? So the opening conversation around affirmations was perfect, because it got me to thinking and remembering my own perfect day. It was the week after my birthday. It was last summer. Now, I've had a few since then, just to be clear. But the one I want to tell you about, it was a Tuesday. And the sun was shining. The office window is on my left. I had jazz playing on Spotify, because, hey, I'm working from the office bedroom, so you can do what you like. And I was in my groove. It was perfect. I was calling people, they were picking up. I was getting replies to my emails. I was checking things off the to-do list. It was amazing. All it needed was the Disney soundtrack and a few birds to land at the window, and you get the drift. That was until the phone rang. Oh, see? Look, you read ahead. Have you just binge-watched this series? Is that what's going on? So I know you all have it. It's that knock at the door that Tony was describing, or the Slack message of just the second. There is always one person in your organization where you just go, oh no, this is not going to be pretty. And this was it. It was Biff, according to my caller ID. Now, Biff is his alias. And I knew what Biff wanted because he'd been texting me. Let's just say that Biff was miffed, because I liked the poetry. So as the phone was ringing, I was immediately conflicted. My hand hovered, because do I pick it up? Do I pick it up? Do I not? And then the technology gremlins, which have followed me here with the lights, they answered that question for me, and it went to voicemail. Hurrah! And in that nanosecond, I had a moment of guilt and a moment of relief until, bing, the voicemail message came up. Things had escalated, and Biff needed to talk to me now. And as I sent the Zoom invite, I'll have to admit, the adrenaline started to pump. Because in the text messages, what he had shared was that he had communicated a message to his team, a decision, and it hadn't just landed flat. It was DOA, it was dead on arrival when he delivered it. It had gone so poorly that instead of just sitting back and regrouping, he had gone in harder and faster to make his demands and explicit expectations of his team. And when I talked to them later, they described Biff as a AAA leader. He was aggressive. He was assertive. He was an asshole. And his boss had called him. His boss had got wind of this meeting and essentially delivered him the feedback: get your stuff in order and lead your team. It had just added to Biff's stress, and hence he needed to talk to me. So, you remember Biff, those of you who have remembered and watched the Back to the Future franchise. Biff was the bully teenager who grew up to be the bully boss. That is why my client has got the moniker of Biff. I'd like to say he was just the right side of that bully threshold, but it was a close-run thing. But here it was. What Biff was communicating and asking of his team wasn't wrong. In fact, it was 100% right. It was exactly what they needed to do to reinvent the business and achieve their goals. It wasn't what he was saying that was the issue. It was the how he was communicating it. He was blunt, he was uncompromising, and as a result, his team felt unheard, they didn't feel valued, and as a result, they were sitting back, almost with that implicit, make me. So when people ask me, what do I do for a living? When I'm feeling a little feisty, I'll say I take the junior high out of the workplace. Because come on, we've all sat there and gone, go on then. Make me. I'll show you. And it's these tit for tats that create the politics silos and turf wars that break down that sense of community and belonging within teams, within organizations, that then contribute to the very challenges of turnover, retention, and attraction that we as HR and people professionals are trying to address. So in our time today, what I want to do is to share the framework that I shared with Biff. Because the good news was, Biff knew that this wasn't the legacy he wanted. He'd had the wake-up call, the feedback from the team, and the clear and direct message from his boss, shape up or shape out. And so together, we were going to work on how he could infect his leadership presence. Because it became clear that with the pandemic, with the work from home, he had neglected to continue to invest in the relationships with his team, with his colleagues, and with his boss. He had failed to deliberately and thoughtfully reinvent and recalibrate what does it mean to be a team when we're all working in a little 3x5 window. And I can understand that. Because in March 2020, when we all emergency evacuated, under the illusion it'll only be 2 weeks. Oh, we'll be back by the summer. Oh, after the fall, just don't wear white. But of course, here we are now 2 years later, trying to force fit the BC, the before COVID, 3-dimensional rules of engagement into an after distancing AD environment where we're dealing with a hybrid world. And even today, I'm trying to role model both. I have those of you here who are in 3 dimensions with interactivity. We also have nearly 200 people who are listening in and watching virtually. And as leaders, our leadership presence, how do we make sure that we are all engaged and involved? Whatever medium we're experiencing work matters. And the model that I'm going to share with you today is going to give you the tools to do that, to look up, step up, and show up in a way that builds your own leadership presence, but also builds that sense of community and belonging amongst your team and amongst your colleagues. So let's just reflect on Biff, though. How many, just show of hands here, how many of you have a Biff Or a Biff-like character, oh, that didn't take long. Biff-like character at work. Yeah, one or two. And you're not alone. You're not alone, and it's kind of sad, really. McKinsey last year sent out a work of leaders report, and in it, 56% of respondents said they would describe their boss as mildly or highly toxic. 56%. Of those, 75% said interacting with their boss, with their version of Biff, was the most stressful part of their workday. Oh my goodness. And it's interesting that in the research for my new book, You, Me, we found that 67% of leaders at all levels of organizations reported that their success had been undermined by the words or actions of a colleague. 67%. That means 2/3 of you here, whether online or in the room, 2/3 of you have had your success slowed or undermined by the words or actions of your colleagues. Which also means that 2/3 of you are, intentionally or unintentionally, undermining the other people around you. We are unknowingly becoming Biff's mild-mannered cousin. And we need to be paying attention to how we show up so that we can affect that change and build that sense of community. Because we know when our relationships with others at work are not working, because we do what I call the BMW, not driving down Ocean Boulevard here. Bitching, moaning, and whining. Oh my goodness, you won't believe what happened at work today. You won't believe what so-and-so said or did. But of course, if I'm doing that at home in my office bedroom or to the dog, I'm having the conversation with the wrong person. And I want you to understand that you have the power within you to show up differently and have that conversation at work. But also to understand when people are misinterpreting your intent, how do you close that gap so that we can ultimately be better together? Because when we're working with Biffs, we know what that feels like. It's feeling the blues. It kind of sucks. And the last 2 years, I don't know about you, it's been hard, it's exhausting. I'm tired, my team is tired, my family is tired. We're missing the social interactions, the chance encounters at the water cooler, the conversations as we walk into meetings and out of meetings that reduce the risk of miscommunication and misunderstanding. My team and I have worked virtually for more than 15 years, but there is a difference between choosing to work virtually and having to work virtually. And as we pivoted to facilitating online with the full camera action film studio setup, we also added new software, Slack, so that we could chat to each other. Even though we're all in Colorado, we may as well have been other sides of the planet. And we've worked hard to focus on how do we make sure that all of our communications don't become overwhelming, that we reinvent that sense of connection and how we're doing, not just focusing on what we're doing. So every team meeting, we start with a simple tactic. You might want to write this one down on your handout as the first, how do I build community? We start every team meeting with a ripples and joys. Something that I shamelessly plagiarized from City Year, phenomenal organization. So ripples and joys, a ripple is something that we've done or an impact that we've had either for each other. For example, Ruby's gone and picked up a jacket from the tailors ready for a business trip on Friday for me. Thank you, outside of her job description, but most appreciated. It might be something that we've done for a client like Biff, and I'll come back to Biff later on and give you the concluding cliffhanger of that story. And then joys are something personally or professionally that's made us laugh or smile. And remember, given the stress of the last 2 years, sometimes those are like gold dust. But just taking those 2 minutes to 5 minutes at the beginning of every meeting sets a different tone. And I would say that my team and I are stronger than ever because we took the time to ensure that when we were feeling the blues, we could share it. but we invested time in making sure that we were feeling the feels as well. And here's the thing, even before the pandemic, there was an epidemic of loneliness in the US. Research was saying 1 in 4 folks said they had no close friends, no one that they could call on in an emergency. This has been borne out with, again, our research for You, Me, We. 20% of the leaders who've completed the Ally Mindset profile said they had no friends at work. Can you imagine it? We're leading through unprecedented times. Don't shoot me. We're leading through the biggest change, uncertainty, and turbulence. It is the greatest vulnerability individually and collectively. And 20% of us feel alone and isolated. And it gets worse because when we feel alone, research from Cigna says that loneliness affects our health. Our heart pressure, our general fitness goes down. It's the equivalent, apparently, of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And of course, if I'm feeling disconnected, we've seen the headlines around the Great Resignation. If I don't feel like I belong here, then why would I stay? And McKinsey, in their Great Attraction report recently, said 40% of people had said that in the last week, nobody had called to check in on them. When was the last time somebody called you to say, how are you doing? When was the last time somebody called you just to say, I'm just checking in, I don't need anything. How are you? When was the last time you made that call to somebody else? So feeling the blues. Sometimes we are a victim of our own behaviors. We can't wait for the mysterious they. We need to be looking at what does it take for us to experience the feels, to be having that best day ever, where the sun is always shining and our affirmations come true, where the Disney birds are coming down. Because when we're in our groove, when we are working together, then anything and everything is possible. So let's explore this gap and the impact personally and professionally between feeling the blues and feeling the feels. I'm going to ask you all to take out your phone or your laptop. And for those of you who are watching from around the world, well, from across the States, then please open a new browser window. Make sure you can still hear me. But I'm going to ask you to go to this URL. It is SkyeTeam, SKYE, for the Isle of Skye, on the west coast of Scotland, SkyeTeam.cloud, as in cloud in the sky, /feels, as in I feel the feels, the emotions, not fields as in sporting fields. Apparently my accent can be deceiving. All right, so give me a nod. Put your hand up when you've got it here in the room. You should see something that looks like this. 3 columns, a blue column, a purple column, and a pink column, and some white cards at the bottom of the screen. Do you all have that? If your phone allows you to rotate, you can twist it. If you've already got it set with the checkbox not to change the orientation, then you're going to have to do it in portrait. Do you have it? Put your hands up. Wave at me. Woo, love it. All right. Take a moment to read those cards at the bottom of the screen. So you'll see it says highlight and escalate potential risks. My best ideas or creativity and innovation. Wait for instructions. Invest in my professional relationships. Candid feedback, good news and bad. Proactively provide input and suggestions. Okay, you've got it? So we're going to do an activity in 3 parts. Scene 1, take 1. We're going to focus on feeling the blues. So before we get into that, I just want you to imagine, if it needs to be a Hollywood imagination because you've never had this, or a moment to recap, I want you to imagine that you're working with your worst boss or colleague, your Biff. Oh, I know. if you need some more coffee to stall yourself through it. Feeling the blues. You're either working for your worst colleague or boss like Biff, or maybe you're in your worst job ever. Who's thinking of a someone or a somewhere, worst job or a worst boss? So gentlemen at the back there, just project in a very Shakespearean way. What made it the worst? You don't have to name names or companies, but what made it the worst job or the worst colleague? Yeah. Ooh, and you do have a very good Shakespearean voice. Thank you. So egotistical and competitive, not in a healthy way. How about somebody else from this side of the room? What made it the worst job or the worst boss? What was it that they were doing, or what was the environment like? And yes, at the back there, thank you. Selfish and uncaring. Isn't it interesting how it's the human pieces that are coming first versus crappy coffee in the machine? Gillian, is there anything online for this bonus question here about what makes for a sucky boss, sucky work environment?
So they're talking about managers that don't listen.
Okay, so don't listen. And I know for mine, it can be simple as I interrupt and therefore give the impression I'm not listening, whereas I'm actually excited about what you just said. Or it could just be that they filter you out, much like when I was listening to my boys when they were this high, and it was a little bit like Charlie Brown. Wah, wah, wah. Yes, get a cookie. All right, so feeling the blues. Here's what I want you to do now. Now that you've got the scene set, I want you, with your finger or with your mouse, you can drag and drop these cards. And I just want you to be honest with yourselves. In that environment, which of these behaviors would you demonstrate consistently? Not what should you do, what would you do in that environment? This is a quality, not quantity exercise. Some of you may move one or none. Some of you may move 3 or 5. Don't copy your colleague. But what would you truly and consistently give in an environment where you did not feel valued, where you had your worst boss or your worst job? And I'll ask if for those of you online, please do type in for Gillian some examples of what you do in that environment. So you should have dragged and dropped. So in my case, I'll do enough. I'll probably wait. I'll be a bit more passive versus proactive, wait for instructions. And I'll certainly give you solutions to problems when you ask for them. So in the room here, what would you add? When you were feeling the blues, which cards made it into the blue column? Let's go for center row here. What were some of the things you've dropped here from the front? Ooh, inspire and motivate others. Thank you. So you had the inspire and motivate and wait for instructions. Love it. Thank you. Gillian?
Morag, just the minimum and candid feedback.
Ooh, yes. Now, I wonder how that candid feedback is delivered. Is it delivered with style? Or is it just laid out there like a candor grenade of, here you go, catch it if you dare? All right, what else would you add? Yes, gentleman in the middle there. Ooh, so you're investing. So tell me a little bit more. Why are you investing in your professional relationships? Oh, yes. See, did you hear that? Because I'm leaving. All right. Let's up the stakes. We're going to go to the middle column where we feel somewhat valued. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. What would you now add? Drag those into the middle column. What would you consistently give in that environment where you feel somewhat valued? And again, what have we got, Gillian? What's being added?
Not actively engaged. Invest in professional relationships.
Okay, so some people have moved the invest in professional relationships. I happen to still have it at the bottom of the screen. Gentleman here is adjusting his T-shirt. What would you add to the middle column? Oh, yeah, so in terms of the behaviors, as we move to feeling fine and somewhat valued, what would you all add? Help them out. What did you add at the front table here? So supporting our colleagues, love it, thank you. What about from the middle to the back? What else would you add? Shout it out. Or I'll come with the mic, and then there's no escape. Okay, so we're starting to get into best places to work. But here's the thing with this exercise. The implication is, and you can move these or not, the cards that are still at the bottom of your screen, these are the behaviors that you only give consistently when you feel truly valued. And look at those. What do we have there, Gillian? What are some of the things that people have got and kept back in that moment?
Give trust.
Give trust, okay.
Creatively and innovation to lift the department.
Okay, creativity and innovation. What else from in the room would you add? What did you hold back until you're in an environment where you feel truly valued? Passion for your work. Now look at those lists. Think about it. When we're trying to create an engaged workforce, the third column is where the magic happens. This is the juicy stuff that if we're going to navigate times of change and uncertainty, if we're going to reinvent our business for a hybrid world, if we're going to navigate supply chain issues, then we need creativity and innovation. We need proactive ideas and suggestions. We need to know that I'm not on my own, but that we're in this together. And it starts with leadership presence. Biff wasn't creating a feel the feels moment with his team. If anything, he was reinforcing the feeling the blues. He was the man is an island, and nobody wanted to be on that island with him. And closing that gap and thinking about what does it take to tap into feeling the feels so that we can more consistently deliver these behaviors in the third column is all about what we need to do as HR professionals, as leaders, to overcome and transform the great resignation into the great attraction. So think about it right now. I'm going to ask you in a scale of 1 to 10, how consistently are you delivering and demonstrating those behaviors in the third column? Scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is, I'm all in, and 1 is, I'm all out. Where are you on that scientific scale right now in terms of how consistently are you demonstrating that third column? So if you're online, please type your number between 1 and 10. 1 is, I'm all out, done. And 10 is, I'm all in, I'm here. What's your number? So shout it out for me. What's your number? 2. What about the lady with the nice salmon shirt there? What's your number? 3 tables back. Oh, yeah, I'll take you with the red cardigan, and then to your right. Yes. Yes. A 10. Woohoo! Let's celebrate. I love that. I want to come and rub a little bit of that on me. Okay, and then next to you, what's your number? A 7, okay. And then for you? A 7, okay. What else do we have in the room? What do we have online, Gillian?
Online, we have a lot of 10s, 4, 7, 5, 8, 9.
Okay, so we've got the full spectrum here. And here's the key is how do we recognize in ourselves, what's my number today? And what will it take to +1, to move me up the scale? And once I've invested in me, how do I help you? How do I connect with you in a way that then taps into your third column? And it doesn't happen by working harder or faster or smarter. It comes from every single conversation and a choice that you make in every interaction and in the moment. And the benefit is huge. Because when you're consistently a 10, when you're all in, it's infectious. Research from Daniel Goleman shows emotions are infectious. If you're enthusiastic, if you're inspired, if you are passionate, even in face of all the challenges, then that is going to rub off on me. And if you're a 10, and if I'm a 10, then we truly get to the power of we. We amplify the impact that we can have, whether it's around our table within our team, whether it's with our team and another part of the business, but over time, that you times me to the power of we infects the organization. Then we become a place where others want to work, where people are knocking on the door, looking to join your organization because of the reputation that you have for investing in your people and for this being a great place to work. Now, before you think I'm smoking something from Colorado, I was interviewing Gary Ridge last week for my podcast, People First. And for those who don't know Gary Ridge, you need to Google him. He is phenomenal. One of the most authentic, genuine leaders I know. He also happens to be the current chairman and CEO of WD-40 Company. How many of you have a can of WD-40 at home? Mm-hmm. So we all do, and we all have memories. And in fact, he talks about WD-40 is not in the lubrication game. They're in the making memories game, whether it's me working with my dad on my bike as a kid. But what he has also done in his career at WD-40 Company is transform the organizational culture. Their last annual report talks about the tribe. The tribe equals success. The power is always in the people. And a bit like we heard here in terms of the people and great places to work, when we focus on the human element, that's when we start to feel that sense of belonging and connection. And when we do, then we get to that stats. So engagement. Gallup's been researching engagement data for more than 20 years. And Glint, those of you who use that for your employee survey, reported earlier this year that you get a 5.2 times leap in engagement levels at an individual level when somebody says that they have a friend at work, that they've got that sense of belonging. You all saw how we withhold creativity and innovation and great ideas, but when we have the power of we, when I feel like I belong, then Deloitte shows that over a 10-year period, we get a 30% jump in innovation, driving a 516% impact to the bottom line. This isn't soft and fluffy. These soft skills are what enable us to achieve the hard results. And then the knock-on effect, McKinsey again, retention, a 42% increase in the intent to stay in an organization when we have that sense of community, when we have that sense of belonging, when we have leaders that we can respect, admire, and who care about us and our individual success. So, it's so obvious. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. You're HR professionals. You live and breathe this every day. But my guess is that you live and breathe this every day for others. And I want you today to recognize that the power to go from a 2 to a 3, to a 7 to an 8, to take your 10 and help me to +1 is within you. That you have the ability to look at how you are showing up and then choosing in the moment to step into the tough conversations, to step into the squirrely problem-solving discussions in a different way that elevates your leadership presence, but also helps to elevate others. Because ultimately, if we are doing this together, if we are better together, that's when we see the team results that elevate all performance. And when you think about it, most organizations, my client organizations, I work a lot with technology and engineering, highly educated, sophisticated workplaces like yours. What's the criteria that's often used for promotion? My guess is you are a great software developer. Yes, skills. So congratulations, we're going to put you in charge of a team of software developers. And it's this me first, my skills and ability that creates that correlation with, well, that's what made me successful, so I'm going to keep doing the me first approach. And when we don't couple that with the coaching and the feedback to help people to understand the shift to a we first mindset, is it any wonder that the disconnect happens? So the research for you, me, and we resulted in an ally mindset profile. Some of you have already gone online and completed it, and I encourage you to do that with our compliments. The URL is at the top of your handout. For those of you online, it's skyeteam.cloud/UKG, and I'll come back to that later. But in our research, we identified 5 core components of that we first mindset, which then helps us all to look at in the moment, where do we need to turn the dial up or down in response to the individual we're leading or the situation that we are navigating? When do we need more candor and maybe a little bit more direct of a candid grenade? And where do I need to be more velvet glove, more listening, more empathetic as we move forward and solve the challenges of the modern leadership today? So circumstances have caused us to get stuck, and it brings me back to the Gallup 12 and engagement. So who here is familiar with Gallup 12? Are you using the engagement data? Yeah, a few hands. So I'm not going to bore you with a dissertation, but essentially for the last 20 years, 12 core questions that help to underpin and demonstrate whether or not we have an engaged workforce. And you'll know that throughout that, the needle has fairly remained stuck, with 20 to 30% of employees who are unengaged, feeling the blues. The larger majority who are meh, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and a small minority who are feeling the feels. And the question that I wanted to share with you today is question 10. It's controversial. It's, do I have a best friend at work? And Gallup do report that they consistently get pushback on this soft, fluffy group hug question. But for them, if we can answer yes to do I have a best friend at work, we see that 5.2 jump in engagement. We are more likely to see that sense of affiliation and teamwork. But as much as I love the Gallup 12, as much as I love the depth of research from Gallup, I would challenge that this is the wrong question. My consensus and difficulty with this question is that it's passive. It allows me to go through the survey and say, do I have a best friend at work? Other than the puppy dog, obviously, which was cute. Do I have a best friend at work? No. Because so-and-so was mean to me at lunchtime, because that team isn't responding to my needs, because I don't feel heard, I don't feel valued. Instead, I want to turn the paradigm on its head, and my team and I and you, me, we are instead asking the question, am I a best friend or a friend at work? Because if you want to have allies, if you want to have best friends, then you can't wait for them to come to you. You have to choose to go first. And it starts one conversation, one relationship, one interaction at a time. It happens in the moment where you make a choice about how you're going to show up that helps not only you to achieve your goals, but to help ensure that I am going to achieve my goals. You, me, we. That's where the magic happens. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to ask for those of you in the room just to take 5 minutes at your table, just to talk about everything that we've touched on so far. The journey around the Great Resignation and why people are leaving. I don't feel valued. Nobody's called to check in on me. I don't feel like my opinions matter. Through to feeling the feels and the best friend at work idea from Gallup 12. What's resonating for you? What questions do you have? And for those of you who are listening online, it's an opportunity to go grab a coffee. But again, just share with Gillian, what's the, oh yes. She's saying what I've been thinking. What's resonating for you right now, and what questions might you have? So 5 minutes, and then when we come back, we'll do a bit of roving reporter and take some of those aha moments and questions before we continue. Go. How's it going? How's it going?
Good job.
Thank you, thank you. Like a swan. Yes, my feet are doing this, but like a swan. Thank you.
That's not always work related. Like that's
This is my first time wearing heels in forever, and they're killing me. If I take them off, will you make sure I'm only knee up, or do I need to keep them? And that one. 30 seconds, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, come on back. So in a moment, I'm going to invite Gillian to share some observations from our attendees online. And then I'm going to do the roving reporter, so to look lively. Because even if you look away from me, I can still see you. And you know how this works. But it was interesting, I was listening in at a couple of tables, and I certainly heard one of the ahas was, oh my gosh, I feel guilty. I've been so caught up in my own hamster wheel, I haven't reached out. How many of you feel a little bit of that guilt of, oh, yeah, I can't do one more thing? Well, here, I absolve you of that guilt right now. Let it go. Because the whole point of this, the power of this model that I'm going to share with you is, there's always tomorrow. There's always the next meeting. And for me, I have 30 minutes on my calendar every Friday where I literally just spin the Rolodex, and whoever comes to mind, I'm just sending them a message, whether it's LinkedIn, text, email, that just says, hey, I was thinking of you. Hope you had a great week. Hope all is well. That's all it takes to start shifting that, to build those webs of connection where I feel I have a friend at work, but now that person sitting at their kitchen table, at their office, or maybe the only person in your premises who's still going in, feels like somebody else cares about them as a human being. So Gillian, what did you hear online? What's resonating and what questions are you hearing? Just give me a few.
Well, so one of the things is basically they're talking about the aha moments on how HR executives have to deal with layoff anxiety. Mm-hmm. And it's just big aha moments.
Yeah, and we've seen the headlines of some companies that have handled it inelegantly. Don't be them either. I mean, the case studies for what not to do are so wide, but in the moment it can be so hard to pay attention and just take a moment to pause, to be as compassionate as we can, especially in those tough moments. So I'm coming here to Sally. So you had a great observation. So just introduce yourself. So who are you and where do you work?
My name is Sally. I work for the La Jolla Group. Been with the La Jolla Group for 12 years, HR manager. One of the things I noticed during this whole pandemic is onboarding remote workers. We've been challenged on many areas, but definitely onboarding remote workers has, and today I just thought of it, that we haven't reached out, we onboarded them, follow the process, but we don't really know them. They don't reach out to us when they have problems because they don't have that personal, I guess, touch or relationship with HR, whereas before, everybody is in the building, they'll come see me whenever they need me, but now they can't or they won't.
Yes, because we're assuming that you're busy, so we don't want to
And
bother
then we
you.
are not reaching out. We have a lot of, not a lot, but a good handful of poor managers, I'd say. I mean, every company has, those managers. So I don't think the managers are reaching out and talking and asking them if they're okay.
So I'm going to reclassify. It's not that we've got poor managers. We've just got the not yet experienced managers. Because you know what it's like? We're all brought up from our parents, don't talk to strangers. And it carries through to workplace. And of course, out of sight, out of mind doesn't help. So giving our managers tools, just simple icebreaker questions, just saying, hey, we expect you to have one-on-ones no less than once a month or every 6 weeks, whatever it might be, now gives them permission. They can say, well, as you know, we've got the one-on-one requirement. I'm reaching out to schedule it. And before you know it, the ice is broken.
Yeah.
But thank you.
And we only hear about it during the exits.
Yeah.
So,
And that's too late.
yes.
So Sally, point to a table for me, and you get the power of selection.
That one.
This one here in the middle. Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, you got a twinkle. So this is the mic drop moment. I'm not actually going to make you do it. But so again, what resonated for you and what questions do you have? Oh, you're smiling. There you go. Take it.
We're all in HR, it sounds like here, and it's hard to have friends at work when you're in HR who aren't other HR professionals because there's that kind of underlying and unspoken fear of HR. Are you going to make me come back into the office? Are you going to lay me off? Are you going to write me up? You know, and yes, we do all those things, sadly, but we do a lot of great things too. But
We're real people.
yes, and I think those things fade into the distance in
Yeah.
the light of those other scary moments. So developing friendships outside of HR is really tough for HR people.
Which means events like this are so important.
We were just saying how much we love being able to come and be with HR people.
Yes, because you're building your community across the industry. But I would also challenge you whether or not that myth of we can't make friends at work because I'm the CEO or because I'm in HR is actually true. Because what if we sat down and we found that we did have a connection? We can always be explicit around, as your new boss or as your colleague, at some point I'm going to have to give you feedback. Contracting for it early. There are going to be times where HR decisions and policies are introduced, and I need us to preserve the friendship whilst also recognizing this is the value I bring to the organization. Because otherwise, we become that island, we become disconnected, and when we do that, we're putting up an invisible barrier that stops the very people coming to us before they give us the letter of resignation and the exit data. Anything you want to add from here? You're looking like a man ready to go. Yeah. Is that, would you like to add? All right, so pick one more table for me. Anybody at this table, point to another table. They're all ignoring you. Pick one. This table.
Look at us.
It's them. They did it. All right, so I'm going to take one more. So what's resonating for you, and what's the aha that you've got from this point?
Actually, I'll add on to what they said.
Oh, let me bring you the microphone so they can hear you. Then you can sing karaoke
One thing
style.
that I thought about after hearing their feedback is, at our company, we value professional growth. So we're community-based, and we hire, for instance, a lot of mental health therapists. And then we tend to promote from within. Similar to what you said earlier, you're a great therapist. I think you can lead the group.
Yes.
Without thinking like, are you a great manager? Right? Which, we do try our best to build upon that. But what resonates to me is putting more emphasis on maybe training like folks that we promoted from colleague to manager.
Yep.
Because
So-
we see a lot of that, like when, we deal with performance management, like they're afraid to write their friends,
Yes, which is the
'cause they
challenge
were
you were
colleagues.
talking about.
Yeah,
How do
so-
we hold our friends accountable for the performance standards and expectations? But often it's those conversations that we have and don't have that really can hold us back. And it goes back to my comment, when we provide the coaching and skill set to move to a we first mindset, it allows me to understand what do I need to let go of, and what do I now need to embrace as new skills and new approaches at this new leadership level? Gillian, is there anything else you would add from online?
I have one great comment I wanted to share. I randomly send an email to those in my tribe, a thank you Thursday note.
Ooh, a thank you, I like the alliteration, a thank you Thursday note. And you need to find a way that works for you. And whilst you might know it's your Thursday thank you, you might know it's your Friday at 1 o'clock, 30 minutes scheduled spontaneity. All the person who receives the outreach knows is that you care and that there is somebody at work that they can start to think of as a friend, as a colleague that they want to go to, not a colleague like Biff that is a go from. Now again, seems so obvious, but I didn't know all of this. I may have written 3 books about this topic, but I can trust you, I have learned through the school of hard knocks the impact my own leadership presence or lack thereof has had, and the impact of relationships in terms of my own success. As Tony shared in the introduction, I started my career a little while ago in banking, which was at that time a very traditional environment. It was suits buttoned up, and it's in England. So it's stiff upper lip all the way. And I bought into the career PR, or BS, depending on how you look at it, which is keep your head down, work hard, keep your nose clean, and you will get on. And do you know what happened? Nothing. It was like the tortoise and the hare, except I wasn't even the tortoise, I was still on the start line. And I would work hard, I would get it done, I prided myself on the independence versus the interdependence. And my leadership presence essentially was invisible. And I knew I was disaffected, I was disconnected. It wasn't somewhere where I was thriving. And as I looked at the companies and the businesses that I was advising, it was the catalyst for me for change. Because I realized you can have the best widget, the best service. It really doesn't matter, though. You can make that cash flow forecast say whatever you like. But in order to deliver those business results, you need to care as much about how business gets done, the people side. Hence, I moved into leadership development. And that's what brought me to Colorado. I left the bank and I took a risk. I stopped looking at what everybody was doing in finance and trying to copy them. And I looked inwards as to what I was doing and what was I passionate about. And I chose to take a risk to join an American telecom company. And it was a big risk because I was the sole breadwinner for my family. I had my husband, I had 3 boys under 5 and 2 dogs at that time to support. No pressure. And during that time, my mum passed away. And I was devastated. And we moved across the UK to be closer to family because life is short. But the American telecom company opportunity continued to grow, and instead of just looking after EU leadership development, we were invited to move to Colorado, where I would not be close to family. I would be thousands of miles away, and where, other than my work colleagues, my husband and I would know nobody. But we decided to take that risk. So we moved to Colorado in 2005. We enrolled our boys in elementary school, and we embraced the American dream. The challenge was, though, the environment changed. And once again, I found myself disconnected, disillusioned, and wondering, did I make the right decision? And to cap it off, my dad passed away. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. Here I was, 5,000 miles away, and one of the most important people in my life had vanished. I felt like a failure. I felt like I'd let everybody down because I'd moved my family and it wasn't turning into the American dream. It was almost an American nightmare. So you know what I did? I paid attention to the universe. It became apparent to me in that moment that my leadership presence, in fact, was no longer invisible. It was starting to become visible. Because, whereas when my mum passed away in the bank and I never told anybody, it was stiff upper lip, keep it on, nobody knew. Here in the US, when my dad passed away, everybody knew. I was starting to open up, and the inpouring of support for what was happening at work and my ability to go back to the UK completely transformed my mindset. My leadership presence was becoming visible because I was getting calls and outreach from colleagues who had graduated from the programs I was doing and wanted me to come in and do the same for their own company. So in the midst of an economic downturn, in the midst of grieving the loss of my parents, in the midst of all of that change, I took a new risk and started SkyeTeam. And I remember talking to my husband at the time, and we decided we would give it a year and see what happened. You know, when you're making, the grass is always greener, you're making a change at work, there's always that little uncertainty of, am I leaping from frying pan into the fire? So we'd give it a year and see what happened. And now it's 15 years later, in the blink of an eye, and we get to work with leaders around the world in helping them to elevate their leadership presence. And this photo was taken before the pandemic. It's Eric in the back there, Ruby's driving her Jeep. We're bunking off school today, and we had gone Jeeping to have fun. But these are my best friends at work. And I know it because we 3 show up as our full, authentic selves every single day. They have seen me heartbroken over my dad. They have seen me ecstatic over a program that's gone well. They have seen me on the good days, but they've seen me warts and all. And when we take away that fear, my British reserve, that stiff upper lip of I've always got to have a professional image, that's when we can take informed risk. That's when you can either put the bat sign up and know that they're going to step up and help you, or we can sit down and argue and go toe-to-toe around what we think is the right way to elevate a program. And it doesn't damage the relationship. In fact, it strengthens it because we have a better understanding of where we're all coming from. And if I can change from that British stiff upper lip to being an inclusive, interdependent leader, then I know that you can too. And I trust that then feeling the feels and being a 10 out of 10 more often than not becomes accessible to you all. And so that's what we're going to spend the rest of the day talking about, is how do you get there? Now, it's all based on the research for the Ally Mindset. So again, I mentioned it earlier on, SkyeTeam.cloud.ukg. Feel free to go there for a deeper dive after the conversations. But right now, what I want to do is to share the model, the look up, show up, step up, that I shared with Biff that helped him to turn a corner. And so my question for you as we go through the remainder of today, and if you turn over the handout that you have online, or if you've downloaded the PDF, you'll see that there are 3 sections that we're going to work through together that is going to help you to elevate and be deliberate and thoughtful about your own leadership presence. Give you an opportunity to look up and take a pulse check on where is it serving you and where is it not right now. We're going to have an opportunity to then choose what skills do you need to turn the dial up on, and what skills might you need to learn so that you can show up in a new way to realize your dreams of the best year ever. And then we're going to close out talking about the action steps. How do you hold yourself accountable? Because in our research for the Ally Mindset, all of this is hot air. It's easy to talk about. The true test, though, is the action and accountability, and can you put this into action? Not just today, but in every day, in every moment, in every interaction, so that you can get the you times me to the power of we. So let's start with look up. Think back to feel the feels exercise. I don't know about you, we already talked about the guilt of not reaching out to new hires perhaps, or to people as much as we should. And I know I get sucked onto the hamster wheel of the to-do list that never seems to end and just running faster and faster. In fact, I wrote a LinkedIn post on this about stress and anxiety only this week. My solution is the spiral method, but you'll have to go and find it on LinkedIn to see what I mean there. But I knew I was stressed on Monday when this little coil, this little spiral appeared on my desk. And for me, it was my reminder in that nanosecond to look up. To look up and evaluate what was I working on and how was that helping or hindering the team? How was that helping or hindering the project and the client work I was doing in that moment? And so what I'd like you to do is to just think about what would it take for a best year ever? I moved house last summer during the pandemic, and as I was unpacking some drawers, I found this list. Now, this list is 20 years old. When I found it, I was surprised, A, that I still had it, but I had a flashback to the weekend retreat where I'd written it. And we'd been asked by the facilitator, what did we want to achieve? What was the legacy for our best life ever? And you'll see mine goes from the tactical, a hot air balloon ride, to fairly powerful stuff like fall in love again. And for 20 years, this list has remained hidden in a drawer. Now, the good news is, some of these I've done. I got engaged 2 weeks ago. And I am so friggin' happy. It is untrue. My boys, have they grown up to be happy and successful? Yes, because they're now all 6 foot tall. Oh my gosh, it seems like yesterday when they were little scraps. I haven't yet been on the hot air balloon ride. I tried twice, but it got cancelled because of weather. And then, of course, all the travel with pandemic ain't happening. But here was the thing. Finding this list, I recognize there is no, I'll wait till tomorrow when things are quieter until the boys are grown up. There is only here and now. And so for you to feel the feels, to get to that 10 out of 10 of engagement, not just at work, but in life, what would you put on your list? So I'm going to give you 5 minutes right now. I want you not to think about life, because sometimes that's huge, and you think, oh my goodness. Just think about this year. For the rest of this year, personally and professionally, in that first column, when we're sitting down having cocktails, New Year's Eve, what do you want to have achieved or done that would make you look back and say, this was the best year so far? And at the very bottom of that page, just jot down for me a few of the emotions. What's that going to feel like? So it's not just what you do, but how it's going to make you feel. So take 5 minutes, personal, professional, and what's it going to feel like when you realize those dreams? As an extrovert, this is the most stressful part of any keynote, when there's no background music and it's gone like a library. So I had to let that out, and now I'll go quiet again. So this is not an exam. Nobody's going to be grading you. This is your list. But I know from experience, taking a moment to pause and reflect on whether I'm feeling the feels, what will make for a best year or a best life ever, I deprioritize me. I'm so busy looking out for everybody else, and as HR professionals, that's what you do naturally. And this is your opportunity to say no. What about the and? How can you prioritize other needs and yet invest in your own? But if we don't articulate it, if we aren't deliberate and thoughtful, I can guarantee, much like my list of 20 years, it becomes, as Dan Pink would talk about in his new book, Regret, a regret. And we rarely regret the things that we do, we regret the things we don't do. So, We're coming to the end, about a minute left here. Gillian, just start us off. What sort of things are you seeing from those online? And thank you, everybody online, for chatting. It makes a huge difference for me.
I have several. So the first one, start my coaching business. It will be done this year.
Okay, connect with me on LinkedIn. If I can do anything to help you to accelerate your success, whoever you are out there, I will do it. I mentor many others. Call me. It's what I love to do.
Get my company in compliance. Keep our current employees happy and productive.
Okay, yes. Because here's the thing, you're passionate about being an HR professional. When we're out of compliance, who's having the sleepless nights? You are. So if we can tip that and get a few more of the right boxes checked, then you can chillax and focus on yourself. All right. What about in the room? What are some of the things personally or professionally that you've made on your list? I'm coming to the back, like in true Jaws fashion. Be afraid, be very afraid. Come on, you're smiling at me. I like your jacket. What have you had? Just give me one or two.
For a professional, I put know that our employees feel engaged, connected, and valued, which I think we're actually doing a good job at.
Okay.
For myself, to be able to celebrate achievements in person for my friends and my family, because we haven't been able to do that. I'm one of those rah-rah people. I like to celebrate everybody for everything.
Well, hey, I love it. Okay, thank you. All right, what about here? What are some of the things that have made your best year ever list? Just give me one. Would you give me one? I'm going to come and bring you the microphone, though, so we can all hear.
And the professional, it's complete project management certification.
Oh, that's a big deal. Congratulations when you get through that. How close are you? It got put on the back burner again, didn't it? All right, let's move it up so that by the end of the year, you've got that. Congratulations. All right, and one more from this table here. What's one thing that would make this your best year ever?
Find work-life balance.
Work-life balance. Good luck. Let me know the secret to that. Here's what I know from work-life balance. When we moved the commute from driving, and I don't know LA traffic but by reputation, but when I moved from that to a bed commute, instead of my work-life balance getting more balanced, it went the wrong way. But here's the thing, this is why lookup is so important. I'm going to tell you right now, work-life balance is a misnomer. It does not exist. In fact, it is the reddest red herring you will ever have. Because you get one life. This is not a role play. You get one life. You get the same 168 hours every single week that I do. You cannot manage time. Work is just one of the little pie segments in Trivial Pursuit time that fits into life. All you can do now is choose what you put into your 168 hours a week. And I, hence the Spiral article, need to remind myself of that just as much as you do, and to reprioritize me. I reinvented my commute, so I now walk to work around my neighborhood pocket park at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, most days. I try to walk home for lunch, not just downstairs to the kitchen, but again around the pocket park, anything to move meaningfully. So this feeling the feels, creating my list of accountability felt hokey to me to start with. I was just, whatever's in front of me, work on it. But then that's when my list of 20 years gets lost. So in 2022, I have 4 priorities this year. I have a major client. I have the launch of You, Me, We, our new book that will be out in October, which is like, well, it's harder than birthing 3 sons, I tell you. Birthing a book is like this one's going to be my 6th child. I have SkyeTeam and making sure that Eric, Ruby, and I feel connected. And then I also have the 100 Coaches, a group of thought leaders that Marshall Goldsmith brought together, which is elevating and challenging me. I am outside of my comfort zone because I am in a room of God and goddesses in the HR leadership thought leader space. But boy, am I having fun whilst being terrified at the same time. So I have my personal list, I have my business list, I have my social list to make sure that we're celebrating the achievements of friends and family too. And I keep that in front of me. I have 4 Post-it notes on my camera arm so that it reminds me, and I've actually color-coded my calendar to match those 4 business goals. And my team has permission to kick me if I'm saying yes to things that aren't aligned to those 4 stickies. Because that's leadership presence. It's not just saying yes to everything that comes your way. It's also knowing what you need to say no to. But it's not that easy, because I'm a people pleaser and I love work. I love what I do. You ask and I'm going to help. Hey, I've just offered to coach and mentor a new coaching business, and I will. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's the thing, though. You have to pay attention to the end, otherwise we don't get the work-life balance that we heard from the other colleague there. And that's where, in the moment, we choose how to show up. For me, it was learning how to say no, crafting some phrases that I could use that didn't leave me feeling like I was letting other people down, but provided them with alternatives. Yes, I would love to do that project, and we can't start that till June. Yes, I would love to support you, but it's not in our wheelhouse. Let me refer you to a colleague or another firm better suited to meet you. So how we show up matters. So when you look at your list of what would make for the best year ever, where would you need to turn the dial up or down? What skills do you either need to learn, or what skills do you need to better shape? For example, me learning to say no. Take a moment for me right now and just jot down for me, where do you need to be investing in your own leadership presence? What leadership skills and behaviors do you need to take from a bronze medal to a silver medal? Which ones do you need to elevate to the next level? Just jot 1 or 2 down for me. And again, for those online, feel free to chat to Gillian and she will share with me. Maybe it's presentation skills. A few of you have said, oh no, don't bring me the microphone. I don't like public speaking. Trust me, I do this for a living. I still get nervous. But it's like any skill. You can turn the dial up. And if you're elevating your leadership career, chances are you are giving presentations and communications, whether it's just to your team, to your leaders, within your organization. Invest now, so it doesn't slow you down and trip you up. Maybe you need to spend some time thinking about finance and what do those numbers actually mean, so that you can understand how your company makes money. Because then that allows you to be a true strategic partner as you're working with leaders at all levels in the organization around their people strategy and the talent needed to help elevate the business. Maybe it's getting your project management certification. I love that one. All of this will help you to be more successful. So hands up, how many of you have got at least one thing that you know you need to get better at, that you need to refine? Thank you. What was yours, can I ask? Okay, not to be so aggressive. Okay, wow, that's a powerful one. Thank you. I saw a hand go up from the back right. What's one? There you go, yes. Ooh. That whole, it's just quicker and easier to do it myself. And of course, when I'm in the same 4 walls of my bedroom, we're assuming everybody else is busy, and we're going to help you with that right now. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and I'm not quite sure how this is going to work for our online folks, because there's 200 of you in a giant room. So bear with us if you need to check your emails, because you haven't been doing that so far. So for those of you in the room, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick one thing as we've heard, that you want to get better at. I'm going to ask you to stand up. Now, again, if you want to put your masks on at this point, please do. But here, the intent is, either at a distance, is to go and meet as many people as you can in 5 minutes. And you get to say, I want to get better at saying no to things that don't fit my priorities. What advice do you have? And you give me your first best suggestion. And then I just say thank you. I don't say, oh, that'll never work. I don't say, tried it. I don't say, give me another. I just say, thank you. Then you tell me what you want to improve, and I give you my idea. And then you move to the next person. All right? The idea is to get as many suggestions as you can in 5 minutes. What is it, the one thing I want to improve? So whatever it is, whether it's I want to get better at delegation, what's one suggestion that you have? And it might be a book, it might be a resource, it might be a tactic that you've tried, but just give me your first best idea in response to that person's ask. They say thank you, and then you get to ask them, well, here's what I want to do. What advice do you have? For those of you online, enjoy a free-for-all. Because I'm not sure, can they actually message each other direct? Gillian?
It's a chat, so they can all comment to each other. So I just posted in there, introduce yourself, your role title, and a suggestion for others.
Okay, so there's going to be a flurry because 200 of you all chatting at once. That's exciting. So good luck. It's a potpourri of ideas and suggestions. In the room, 5 minutes, stand up, meet as many people as you can, give and ask suggestions to raise your game. 30 seconds. Thirty seconds. All right, take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your seats. Thank you. Thank you. Please return. All right, we are done, ladies and gentlemen. Five, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2. Is it coming through? There we go. Okay. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Ah. So I have 12 and a half minutes left with you. Twelve and a half. All right. Twelve and a half, and then you get a bathroom break. Okay, quick show of hands. Wow, I have... Dance off. Okay. Oh my goodness. You are a chatty bunch. It's like it's the first time we've been out in person for 2 years. And then the dam broke and we were all having fun and oh my goodness. All right, show of hands. How many of you have got a new idea to help you to elevate your leadership presence? Ooh. How many of you have got a reminder of something that you know you should or could be doing? Put those hands up. Yes. Come on, that amount of noise and chat. So here is your choice. Your choice in the next conversation, in the next meeting, is to put this into practice, to make sure that 2022 truly is your best year ever, and that your leadership presence, whether it's at work, at home, or socially, is visible. That you can feel it and experience it, that you are consistently doing the 10 out of 10. Except it's not easy, which is why the final step is step up. Research from the University of Scranton, yes, them of the paper mill and the office, shows that 92% of us do not follow through on the things that we know we should do. My own aspiration to be fit and have a regular workout routine is one of them. So here, stepping up is where we move from the what and the how to the doing. And I encourage you all to think about accountability partners. So at the bottom of the second column, you'll see that it says stakeholders. Just jot down for me right now the critical few, the friends, the family, the colleagues, who can hold you accountable for being the best version of you. Because with all the best wishes in the world, when you go back to that inbox, when we get back on the hamster wheel, our list can go in the drawer and you might not see it for 20 years. So in my case, learning to say no, I am now in a weekly accountability email exchange with Lindsay Pollock, who's the author of Recalculate. And we literally send each other examples of how and where we've both said no so that we can remain focused to our 4 priorities. And I'll admit, last week, I felt terrible. I felt guilty because I'd said yes to a client who's known me since the beginning, who was getting the best of mates rates. But the reality is I had not adjusted that relationship or engagement as our work grew. And I had said yes to supporting them. Now, it's still great. Abundance and generosity is the foundation of an ally mindset, but abundance and generosity within guardrails. And what I had done is not just said yes to the little bit that was great because they're friends, but I'd added on bells and whistles that she hadn't even asked for. But Lindsay listened to me. She didn't judge. She gave me the space and grace to stub my toe. But what she then did was to coach me, to help me to think about the next time somebody came for the friends and family rate and how would I respond in that moment. And so your accountability partner, those stakeholders, they are your allies who stand by your side, not just on the good days when things are easy, but they're there especially on the tough days. The other tactic, though, is what we call daily questions. And daily questions are important because daily questions mean that that list isn't lost in the drawer, it's there every single day. And it answers simply, did I do my best? So in my case, on my personal list, did I do my best to move in a meaningful way for 30 minutes a day? My Apple Watch and those rings, it's like I'm 7-year-old with my little oh, look, I got some steps in. Did I do my best to remain focused on my 4 priorities? Did I do my best to reach out and connect with friends, family, and colleagues that I might not otherwise have seen because they don't work out of my office bedroom? Daily questions are a way of driving accountability. So think about your best year ever. Think about these new skills that you say you want to learn or refine. What might be your daily questions that you can use to reflect on at the end of every day to say, did you do your best? Jot them down for me now. And if anybody shares online, Gillian, any of their do their best daily questions, feel free to read those out for me. I have 5 daily questions, and I have the 6th, which is my email exchange with Lindsay every Friday on the did we do our best to say no. And this was inspired again by my friend and mentor, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, and if you've read his book, Triggers, you'll know that he uses daily questions. He uses it as part of his coaching practice with executives around the world. He actually has 32 questions. My understanding is, and he actually pays somebody to call him every day to ask him, did you do your best? Now, I'm not suggesting you need to hire somebody to ask you those questions, but if you fudge your answers, then you're only cheating yourself. Because as we said earlier on, if we want to build a sense of community, if we want to build engagement, it starts with your leadership presence. And that leadership and presence is important not just for the employees and the teams you support, it's the leadership presence that you demonstrate to yourself. And the 3 steps are to look up and say, am I meeting those needs? Am I showing up in a way and being intentional about how I show up in each interaction that serves those needs? And then ultimately, because we are all human, we aren't perfectionists, did I do my best? Did I do my best to step up, and as Brené Brown would say, step into the arena and do the things not just because they're easy, but also do the hard things because it's the right thing to do. So as we come to the end of our time together, I know this is a whirlwind introduction, and I will be around all day, so happy to take questions and so forth over breaks and throughout the rest of the session. But I want to update you on Biff. So you'll remember when I opened the story, his role was at risk. His team was unhappy, his boss was unhappy. It turns out his spouse was unhappy. Nobody was having any fun in the world of Biff. And his look-up call was that feedback from his boss: lead your team, or essentially, you're out. So we reflected. He started using something similar to ripples and joys in terms of his team meetings. He started reaching out to see how people were doing, not what they were doing. He started to pause and ask more questions. Instead of just barking orders, he would ask for input and then pause to listen to the response. Didn't always change the outcome, but that moment meant that the team started to feel heard. They started feeling able to come to him with warnings of impending disaster. He was starting to tap into that third column. And within 6 months, that relationship had turned around. He's not perfect, but he is now a go-to boss versus the AAA leader from the beginning. And even at home, he set new ground rules. He started running again and lost 15 pounds. He set rules, time with the family, movie night, and no cell phone at the table. It made a difference, not just in his work life, but in his home life. His leadership presence was transformed because he took the time to look up, show up, and step up. So as I said earlier, I want you to use these concepts not just today, but throughout your life and your career. And it is all about the choice that you make in the moment. Because what impact can that choice have? Well, it can move mountains. In that choice, to be curious about a customer or an employee who's upset, to ask just one more question before telling somebody how they should respond. That one more question allows us to better understand their context, for them to feel connected with, for them to feel heard, that their opinion matters, and that we can solve this together. Building a sense of community, investing in our relationships starts with us, our leadership presence. And there are the 3 questions that you've been exploring. Look up. How do you want others to feel in your presence? How do you want to feel in your presence? Think about the emotions you wrote down for your best year ever. I get goosebumps when people share those with me. I want you to have goosebumps more often than you get the cold, clammy sweat. So look up. How do you want others to feel in your presence? Then show up. Be intentional about where you need to turn the dial up or down in order to realize that environment that creates the psychological safety where I can feel like I trust you. And then you need to follow through, to step up and say, are you doing your best? And if you stumble, if you fluff the landing, then give yourself the grace and space to learn. Give me the grace and space to learn and the feedback, because there's always the next meeting. There is always tomorrow. Because leadership presence, employee engagement, it doesn't start with the them. It doesn't start from the organization. It starts from within you. One conversation and one relationship at a time. Thank you.